Hey everybody, my name is Lampy Moth, and today I'm going to teach you how to rig the bottom half of your LIVE2D model. This is going to consist of the waist, legs, the shins, and adding some stepping animations for whenever the model moves left or right, as well as movements to the rest of the outfit and all that stuff. So I hope you enjoy, and without further ado, let's begin. First, let's start with the X and Y body movements. We already have the upper body movements set up, but now we got to set up the lower body. So we just need to get the entire lower section. What you're going to want to do for that is set up your deformers for those specific parts. For example, lower body outfit part, the leg part, the waist part, all of that stuff. Once you have all of the deformers for all of those parts set up, you also probably have a much larger deformer to have them all grouped together. When it comes to the deformers, they're a lot like folders. By the way, the deformers are the green boxes, which we have exactly that. Having the entire lower body grouped up in one whole thing. That makes it easier for us to select certain parts or just nab the whole grouped section. So the first step we're going to want to do is go to our deformers over here, that's the green boxes, click on lower, then go to the parameter tab, that's where the dials are, and we're going to want to click on angle X. Now that we got angle X, we click on the three dots over here. That's going to make things a whole lot easier. So chances are for the lower body, you will probably have a rotation deformer. But as I've mentioned before, if you're trying to future-proof this model and later down the road, chances are you're going to want to do something that either enlarges the model or alters the parts, then high chance you're not going to want a rotation deformer for most of the parts. So for this one, we're just going to go with a regular warp deformer, which is the green box. What we need to do first is figure out which direction the waist would go whenever it's moving left or right. Whichever direction the body will be leaning towards, that's the side that'll have most of the weight leaning on it. So that would mean that if the upper body is moving towards the left, so will the waist. However, the legs will have to warp a bit. So let's rotate the body, move it to the right. Now we just got to go to the leg half here. And for this section, we're only going to rig the right leg first, and we'll work our way back to the left leg later down the road. Go back to angle X, put the three green dots. We're going to rotate this leg in the opposite direction, and then just pull it outwards like so. Now this may seem a little odd, but that's because we haven't rigged the other part of the leg. We just got to go to the boot. We're going to put it back in the center. We're going to select all the way up to a point until it seems like it hit the ankle. We're going to have to increase the number of conversion divisions. That would be that thing over here. Let's increase the height of that until we get something that shows a dot in the middle. Exactly like that. Okay, so now that we got that, we're going to select 3 rows at the bottom here. Use that with your selector thingy. Then we rotate the sucker and move it a little more to the right to give it that sense that the foot rotated a little bit. And that's what the ankle's for, to allow the foot to adjust to whichever angle the rest of the leg is going. Let's see what we got going on here. May seem a little odd, but do not worry. Now that we got all of that set up, go back to lower deformer over here, move it back to that one direction on angle X, and then go to our 3 lines over here, and then go to reflect motion, reflect. So when it moves to the side, nothing's going to change there. However, here's what we're going to do. I mentioned it before that whichever direction it's going to be leaning on, that's the side that's going to be holding all the weight. So in order to show that, this leg's going to need to rotate a bit more. Move that over there. Now that we got the left and the right for angle X, what we also need to do is work on a certain part for the calf. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. Because whenever you lean to a certain direction, you may take a step in that direction as well to give yourself a better balance or something like that. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. Get to a certain part of the leg, and we're not going to just shrink it down, because if we did, that would warp the foot as well. And we're not trying to do that. And this is only for whichever direction it's leaning on. Let me show you, for example. If, as I said before, since it's going to be leaning onto this leg, when it moves to the left, that's when we put the step. If it moves to the other direction and it doesn't lean, then we don't have to put the step. We're going to put it between the middle and the left. Since it's 0 and -30, what we need is a -15. Everybody saw that. And we just click right there. Now that we got that, we need to update the number conversion again. Let's try 9 just to be safe. You know what? We might need to take a little bit more of that part. Move it slightly up like so. Bring it a little bit lower. Raise that part up a bit as well. And just to be safe, select 1 row less and bring that one up as well. And let's see what we got going on. When it moves left, it's like they're taking a step. Although the step is a little bit lower than anticipated. Considering what we got here and looking at where it ends, it's not quite landing. So we got to do something about that, but not with the calf. We go back to the right leg, just bring this whole thing down a bit. Now you can see the step effect. Now for the next part. This part's going to be a little bit trickier. We need to work on the Y angle for this now. We need to make right leg Y. We're just going to call it leg RY. And just to be safe, boot Y. Now that we got leg Y, we go to the parameter tab, and we go to angle Y for this one next. Let's put the 3 green dots on angle Y. We move it down, rotate the leg, move it to the center, take the half, just take all the columns right before the knee column. And then we rotate this, and now it's going to look horrible for a second. But do not worry. Here's where we're going to try to fix things up. We're going to take that entire section and move it a little bit more to the right. And then we go to boot Y, because I think this part may be very necessary. Select this bottom half. Put the 3 green dots on angle Y before we warp anything. Rotate a little bit. Move it back to the left. Rotate it one more time. And I think that should be good. All right, let's see. I want to say that kind of works a little bit. Of course, the rest of the body will have to lower, so we actually need to set up a root deformer. What is a root deformer? What the root deformer is mostly for is to move the entire model. In case the whole body needs to move for some reason, that's what the root deformer is going to be for. So let's just select the lower body and the upper body. We're just going to call this root. Nothing more, nothing less. We just call it root and we should be good. Let's go back to angle Y, put that deformer. When the body looks down, we can use the root deformer to move the rest of the body with it. So instead of it feeling like the legs are just bending, so now it feels like everything else is moving, but not the feet. The only thing that's moving about the feet is the positioning, more than anything else. That is basically the game plan I'm trying to get with this one. Is to just give it that sense that the body, that the legs are standing still, but the rest of the body is moving. Which, we need to fix that part with the foot. Make sure that when it feels like it's moving, it feels like only the leg is bending, but not actually moving its original position. That is our main goal for this, is for the foot to feel like it does not move. It still stays exactly where it is, while everything else moves. And now let's see what the movement looks like. Okay, I think that should be good. Now, as I mentioned before, this is the part where we're going to have to line up the leg with the hips and all that. We got to hide this part for a second. Now we got to see how the leg moves whenever we move everything else. So let's go back to angle X. And as you can see, did not move very well, but that's okay. All we got to do is just go back to the right leg and just move the entire thing until it lines up properly. That should be good. Now that we got that side, we move it to the other direction and let's see how bad that turned out. And that turned out pretty bad. Yeah, that should be pretty solid. Now for the right leg, we're actually going to go to angle Y over here and put the 3 green dots right there as well, because when we move it downwards, we're going to have a bit of a problem in certain points. So when that part happens, we just take the top of the angle of the leg, just line that up right like so. So when it moves up, seems okay. When it moves down, seems all right. When it moves to the center, there's a bit of a problem. Now that we got that section, we're going to need to move it to the right, see how badly that turned out. And yeah, we're going to have to move things around a bit more. However, for this one's going to be a little more drastic, since this is what it looked like over here. What we got to do is bring the leg down. Just selecting the entire leg should be okay. Just move this over to the right or to the left. Now let's see. Okay, so that part works out fairly well. Now that we got that part of the leg set up, what we need to do, right click on the right leg and have it select child objects. That will select everything under the main deformer, not just the deformers, but the parts as well. And we needed exactly that, because now we're going to copy, hit Control C, or if you want, you can also right click and it'll go to copy, like so, copy right there. And now that we got all of that set up, what we can do next is right click and it'll say paste. We put paste, and now it'll make an exact copy of everything that we had right there. And since we did that, what we can also do is go to the left leg and delete those parts. Now that that's gone, we're going to go to our right leg copy, rename that left leg, and then we select all the parts from there, go to modeling at the top of the tabs, and what we're going to do next is go all the way down to edit paths. Once we get to edit form, you will see that the tab will open with a new one, and it'll have all these other options here. And as you will see, the very top one is reflect. That is the one that we want for this. So let's select reflect, and it'll ask which angles. We're just going to reflect horizontally, but it'll also have angles of X and Y. We only need X for this one. So let's reflect, like so. And now it'll land up on the opposite side, like so. Now that we have that set up, let's see what the movement looks like. The movement seems to be okay, except for one slight issue. It only looks like they're sliding more than anything else. It doesn't look like they're actually leaning on a specific side. So how do we fix that? We actually go back to root, make a new deformer. We got to make a root X. You can even name it move if you really wanted to. But now that we have that, we're going to go to our angle X over here on the parameter tab, put the 3 green dots, and when it moves to the left, we're actually going to move the leg a little bit. So this is going to be the slightly tricky part, because what we want for this motion is for it to feel like this leg does not move. But as you can see, it is clearly moving a lot. So what we need to do is get it to where when we move everything, this foot, the right foot, stays in the exact same spot. So let's try to figure this one out. This part's going to be a little tricky. We're also going to need our deformer back for this one. And so we need to line it up with this exact spot. Let's go to root X and let's add a reflect motion. Make sure the circle's on the right. Go to the 3 lines up here, click on those, and then drag it all the way down to reflect motion. Make sure it's still on horizontal, and then just put OK on that. So when it moves to the other direction, it actually feels like the body is actually moving. And to make sure that you can actually see it better, let's get rid of the deformer view so you can actually see. Now it seems like the actual body is actually just moving because 1, foot placement, and 2, it's actually leaning to a specific side. Now, did we go a little overboard on that? Maybe a little bit. But you know what? I'm okay with this. You can make the motion not go as far by just working with the leg movements a little bit more. Whichever direction the leg movement is going, that's what you got to look for. This is just one way that you can add the steps if you really wanted to. Now that we got that out of the way, the next step, select about the lower half of this, because when it moves to the right, everything seems to be all good. However, the gravity doesn't seem to be working all that well on this whole thing. So that's exactly what we're going to be working on now. So we go to the dress deformer, that's the green box, select that, go to angle X on the parameter tab, put the 3 green dots. We're going to try to line this up as best as we can. Sort of. We're still going to have it rotate just a bit, because I feel like the ice part still needs to move a little bit, but everything else could at least give it a bit of gravity to it. So let's somewhat move that around. But now that we got that section done, let's go to some of the other parts, like the outer and the veil. Well, first let's start with the veil part. For this one, I want to say we could just take this entire part that got warped, go back to angle X, put the 3 green dots before we make any big mistake. Just realign it a bit. And then we reflect the motion of the veil, put OK, move it to the other side, and there we go. Now it feels like there's some actual movement there. Now that we got all that set up, let's go back to the outer part here and do the exact same thing. Okay, that should be good. Then reflect the motion like so. And so when it moves to the left, moves to the right, everything is all good. And with that, we got the lower half of the body rig done. Thank you all for watching. Join us next time when we start rigging the physics settings. In the meantime, I hope this helped in some way, shape, or form. And I hope to catch you in the next one. You all take care now.